Everyone's got to click OK.
I think you've recorded.
All right. Are we excited to be here, guys? On Wednesday evening? Yeah, awesome. I can see the reactions, okay? Keep it coming in on the comments, all right? Make it as engaging as you can to make the most out of your time today, all right? So I'm Naomi KP. Some of you know me. I am one of the Rebel presenters, all right? And it's my pleasure this evening to introduce a wonderful brain today, Serge, okay? Wave to them, Serge. Let them know who you are. Wave, give them a wave. Serge is an award-winning digital content specialist with over 10 years experience in content marketing. Serge has a unique position, having worked with lots of different marketing sectors within social media, okay, within the meta, within creators, with brands, okay, with agencies. He's got a really wide skill set, and he's here today to help the rest of us to build up our brands, okay, and our marketing skills, all right? So whether you're growing a channel, converting leads, or fostering a community, he's got extensive experience catering to B2B or B2C audiences across industries, all right? So we're hoping that you're going to be able to learn today how to stand out in a crowded market, which, hello, I think all of us are in, in that field, all right? How to use algorithms for growth, all right? How to turn community into customers, and how to future-proof your business in the age of AI, which I believe, for me, that is one of the most interesting parts I want to learn today, all right? So if you've got questions, please put them in the chat. The rest of us will be here to make sure that they're collected and they're answered, all right? It is being recorded today, so if you do miss anything, you'll be able to see it again on the Rebel Plus platform, all right? So without further ado, everybody, please give a warm round of applause to Serge.
Well, you can do I think this is the death sign for applause, because I appreciate that you're
whatever you want, bro.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. My first session here with the Rebel School, and I wanted to make this session quite broad and easy. I see that a lot of you have come here from various different experiences. You're all going to come here with a different set of skills and knowledge within the industry. But I thought, what better way to start by firstly introducing myself and just kind of giving you a breakdown of how the session will go. So I'm going to spend the first couple minutes giving you a bit about my backstory. Then I'll give you the historical context, which will set the scene for really what we're going into with our new digital realities, because I believe that understanding the historical context allows you not only to understand the now, but better prepare for the future as well. And then we're going to go into a bit of strategy development. So going to break down some of the stigmas around it, some of the misconceptions, but also try and give you the building blocks into how to create that next strategy to appeal to your future customers. And then we're going to delve a bit into content creation, and then we're going to give you some next steps. So there'll be social media and AI intertwined throughout. And please feel free to send your questions through to Naomi for me to hit at the very end. So without further ado, who am I? So this little kid here in 1993 was fortunate enough to travel around the world for some good and some unfortunate reasons. So I grew up as a Rwandan refugee, having been able to move over to the Netherlands, then to France, and then in the year 2000 over here to the UK. Moving across different cultures, I've always been really interested as to what gets us to communicate and connect to others around you. So I've always been really interested in cultures and in entertainment and in technology, which led to me working as a content creator from the years 2010 to 2019. So firstly, from starting my own YouTube channels, putting my dance videos on there. Don't worry, they're since deleted, but I can probably send a private link for anybody who wants to see the early work. I also had my own blog, which delved into the personal stories within arts, travel, and culture. Both of those platforms started with just a couple, 10 followers, 20 followers, all the way to growing to tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of viewers. And then in 2017, I had my first role with Sky, working within what was called multi-channel network, so working for different YouTube channels and entertainment platforms. So that I really got to work within large creator platforms, ranging from tens of thousands of subscribers all the way into the millions, to really get an understanding as to, right at the other end of the scale, what does it look like to manage social media at the biggest end of it. And then I pivoted from the creator side over to the B2B and B2C side, working with agencies and brands. So how do you translate all that creator knowledge into effective strategies that work across B2B and B2C brands? But then there was an unfortunate moment in 2020 when COVID hit. But after 3 months of being jobless, a new door opened for me at Meta. And at Meta, had the opportunity to be part of the team that launched Instagram Reels. So many of you probably experienced the TikTok madness that happened in the late 2019s to mid 2020s, and Instagram, as a response to that, launched Reels. So I'm eager to hear how many of you actually are using Reels as part of your marketing strategy or just for pure entertainment purposes. So after 2.5 years working across Instagram Reels and other Meta products, I had the opportunity to found my own team within a sport and entertainment agency called Prism Sport and Entertainment, where I got to work with a wide range of brands, from cycling to football to music to entertainment, really getting an understanding for how businesses are using social media, but really understanding that many different brands have a different level of expertise across the platform. Everyone's using it in different ways. And during my time at Prism, I really started to get an understanding of some of the commonalities and misconceptions that different businesses and brands have when launching a new channel or trying to create content on social platforms, which has led to me to my guiding principle. And I only have one guiding principle, and it's creating memorable moments rooted in culture that connect communities. So all the work that I do is about how do you create content that creates memorable experiences that is always rooted in authenticity and realness, and that has its roots in culture and communities. And that is, I believe that over the next 5, 10, 15 years, it's going to be imperative for every brand to understand what is the community and what is the culture that they are serving in the content that they are creating. Which led me to creating my own platform called Kumva, which explores how we perceive and interact with our digital world. So how does tech and media impact how we view our digital and our physical realities? And in this session, we're really focusing on that perception and that interaction, looking at how we can expand our understanding of social media and AI tools and how that helps us perceive our world, and showing you new ways that you can interact with platforms. So how did we get here? To understand where we're going, we need to be able to look back and have an understanding of, well, how do we get to social media? What can we learn from this shift in technology? And then I'm showing you 6 different images from 6 different paradigms in time, focusing first on these first 3. So there on your top left, you can see the printing press. So the printing press was the first time that you were able to mass distribute information to large communities that were previously not connected. So before the printing press, there was no way for different cities or different communities, especially at opposite ends of the country, to be able to understand what is happening in different areas. So they had no notion of what entertainment was going, what news, what politics were going. You had to wait for a person to travel between towns to be able to distribute the news. So this was the first time that information was being distributed at mass scale, and it gave an opportunity for advertisers to be able to break out of their local communities and be able to reach audiences nationwide. That was followed then by radio. What radio allowed us to do between the 1920s to the 1950s, the golden age of radio, was that for the first time we had appointment listening. So all of a sudden you had these set times where different shows would play on the radio, which changed the way that communities were formed. What you have to imagine is that every home only had one radio. So now the home would gather around that radio to be able to listen to the new shows, and that kind of created these parasocial relationships between the creators of the show and their audiences. So now dinner tables were created around, dining tables and kitchens were created around the radio. You would bring your friends over and you'd all gather around this one instrument within your home. And then came the age of television. Television added a visual element to our interaction. So now all of a sudden you're able to see people that looked like you or that sounded like you. And if you did, and it was even more noticeable when you didn't see those images there on television, which led to more networks wanting to create programming to be able to cater to different audiences. So you would see it probably started from 5 or 10 networks to now having hundreds of networks, each catering to different communities. So now, especially as the multiculturalism across the UK started to really expand, you've really had a huge variety in the amount of content that was catering to different needs, to different cultures and different communities. And that coincided with things like the Walkman and different portable devices, where each person now had their own cultural representation on them. You were able to represent fashion that you would see from shows. You had your own music taste, you had your own culinary taste, etc. And then everything changed with the birth of internet and personal devices. So what changed with the internet is that the previous 3 examples that I gave you were very linear means of communication, where it was from an institution over to the people. So you had to have either a large amount of investment or access to be able to distribute your content nationwide. Now all of a sudden it became this multi-directional communication where you, if you had access to a computer, were able to put your content out there for others to feed into. And then as technology improved, we now have these personal devices on us. So as you can see from the radio and television, where these were fixed things in set locations, we now have personal devices where we take our content with us everywhere that we go. So now you have to imagine how the shape of the home, the shape of community starts to shift over time from being gathered around these devices in the living room to all of us having our own personal means of communication and entertainment. And this has really impacted how communities are created. We've gone from having these shared physical spaces. So remember how busy high streets used to be, even your local McDonald's. I remember 10, 15 years ago that as a family, you would go over to McDonald's and that would be a moment. Television advertising would be openly showing you the latest toys and Happy Meals for you to go out there and get the Happy Meal. Cinemas used to be a place for you to be able to go to and meet up with your friends. All of that has changed now with the simple fact that we've got these personal computing devices in our pockets. And that has evolved to having blended experiences where our physical realities are mixed with our digital realities. You've probably heard of the term second screen viewing, of whether watching sports or television, but having your phone in your pocket. You're now seeing physical spaces integrate VR and digital experiences so that people are able to get fully immersed in those environments. And what that has caused is a shift in our realities. So we've all gone from having these monolithic shared realities where we all watch the same shows, we all go to the same spaces, and these spaces include religious spaces, school spaces, sporting events, etc., to having to create these multiple personas that are blended within different that are dependent on the different environments in which we live in. So you're going to have a different persona when you're on Instagram compared to when you're on LinkedIn, compared to when you're in your living room, compared to when you're even in your kitchen cooking. Technology really has evolved the way that we perceive ourselves and perceive the environment around us. So how's community transition? We've gone from shared experiences to personal experiences. We've gone from institutions to individuals being the lead content creators. And that has been beneficial, I'm sure, to many of you here listening today, where you have actively benefited at being able to create your own companies because of this democratization of technology. We've gone from linear communication, where we only ever receive communication, to being able to interact with multiple different sources. And I also want to stress that this linear path is probably an aspect that many companies and many brands that I've worked with are still getting to grips with. How they haven't quite transitioned from the old way of doing it, where it's predominantly through newspapers and out of home and television advertising, to creating interactive content on their social platforms. So much of the content that they create is still sales driven, still buy this now or get this now, or this is what this will do for you. The expectation now is that people want content that interacts with their lived experience. You're now competing with each other, you're competing with content creators globally, and you're competing with companies. So now it's who can create the most entertaining, the most informative, insightful, and emotive content to really cut through. And that has changed from having communities that are local to now that you have borderless communities. I mean, this wouldn't have been possible 30 years ago, that we have people from Glasgow, from Berkshire, from London, from the Southwest, all being able to attend here together. And the evolution is only accelerating as technology is accelerating. These personal computers are turning into personal wearables, where we're literally wearing our technology on us. Soon you'll have glasses that is filming the environment around you. Apple recently have announced that they're attaching cameras to their AirPods, so that their AirPods can perceive the environment around you and further support the way that you navigate your physical world. Many of you may have seen that Meta have released the prototype for their Orion glasses, which are fully AR glasses that operate in the real world. And then you've got the Apple Vision Pro as well, which means that technology is becoming agentic. Agentic means that these personal computers that you have are essentially your travel agents, your sous chefs, your partners in the way that you navigate your environment, which also changes the way that people find businesses and find different opportunities. Many of you the age of Google and the 10 blue links is over. The way that people discover content, discover new personalities, discover new businesses has completely evolved. And you may recognize some of the following. You've now got devices such as Alexa, Siri, Google Home, where people are actively using their voice to be able to search for content. The same way that Gemini is now being integrated into all Android products, and many of you may have seen the Apple Intelligence as well, where now content is being curated from your phone and it's being delivered to you in bite-sized pieces, which means that there's no longer a need for you to scroll down 10, 20 search results to be able to find what you need. It's being served directly to you. Social platforms are really developing their search functions, such as TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. They're becoming search engines where content is the primary thing that people are searching for. Which is why I want to redefine the question. We started here wanting to understand how to acquire customers, but it's becoming more important than ever that it is a community that you want to acquire. The reason you want to acquire community is because a community follows you through these different paradigms. If you invest in your community and you build your community, it doesn't matter whether you're on Instagram or whether the next iteration is, they will follow you through those different paradigms. But it also means that the way that you communicate to them has to be to build trust and reputation as opposed to direct sales tactics. So before we dig into this, let's dispel some myths, some common myths that I've seen, read, and worked with over the 10 years that I've worked across social media. Social media for B2B businesses and B2C businesses are fundamentally different. No, all social media strategies at its heart should be to connect humans to humans. Now we are driven by narratives. Communities are built on stories, and sales is driven by storytelling. If you understand the core principles of how to build great stories, it doesn't matter whether you're across B2B or B2C, great storytelling will always break through. Algorithms deprioritize branded and business content. Algorithmic feeds focus on the value perceived by the viewer. It's almost a democratizing platform. You see more of what you want, even when you don't think that that's what it is. So how do you create content that appeals to you and breaks through? There's a channel called Sacramento History Museum, which is this 85-year-old pensioner showing you the different prints that he's created within the museum. And that kind of relatable content has grown them from 10,000 followers on TikTok to having millions of followers across TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram, just because they're able to be relatable, be informative, and be emotive in the way that they communicate to their audiences. It's not about the type of business that you have. Every business can break through if they're able to provide value to the audiences on that. I need a large team, budget, time, or resource. With technology today, you can be a team of one and create great content. And all the tools that I'm going to provide you today will allow you to build organically. So I'm not going to be focusing on any paid strategies. This is the building blocks for you to be able to build organically across your channels. And I'll also be providing you with a vast number of tools and templates that will be able to save you a lot of time. And from a resource point of view, this webinar right now is being filmed on my iPhone. The microphone's from my iPhone. Most of us here have a device strong enough to shoot a feature film on. So there is no excuse anymore to not be able to create your own content. You don't need the latest camera. You don't need to spend thousands of pounds on the latest kit. All you need is a phone that can shoot that with a decent amount of battery life, that allows you to shoot wherever, and for yourself to be comfortable enough to create content. My audience isn't on named platform. Who remembers TikTok in 2019, 2020? I remember when it launched and it was mostly dance trends, mostly dance and fashion trends. And I was part of Read Exhibition at the time. I told them we should get on this platform. And they said, no, our audience isn't on this platform. Today, every brand is chasing the impressions and the engagement that this platform offers. And there is good news. It's not too late. It's no longer a requirement to be chasing every platform. It's good for you to be able to wait and see. Just because a new platform is launched doesn't mean you have to jump on it, but it doesn't mean that your audience isn't on there either. And this one's a very popular one. I need to post every day. You don't need to post every day, but you do need to post consistently. So whether that's 1 or 2 times a week, whether that's once every 2 weeks, whether it's once a month, you need to be able to commit to a schedule and be able to post consistently. Not necessarily because of any algorithmic advantages. You only get better through consistency. The more content you post, the more insights and data that you have to be able to inform the improvements that you need to make to get better. And then the algorithm. Before I get into the tools that you need to help you beat the algorithm, I want to share with you different types of algorithm that different social platforms use. You've got the algorithmic platform, which is based on user interest, preferences, and engagement. So the more that you engage with something, the more of it that you'd show. The more that you say that you don't like something, the less of it that you show. And then you've got your search and discovery one. So this is content that is surfaced based off the queries and explicit topics that a person searches for. So commonly YouTube search, TikTok search, Pinterest results. And then you've got curated platforms. So this was part of my role back at Meta, is being part of that filter to be able to create bespoke experiences across different platforms. So you'd have a team of editors or curators or industry professionals that will curate topics for the audiences on that platform. So this is kind of a way to break out of this algorithmic feed, is to go into these curated communities. And then you have network algorithms. So this one's like LinkedIn, Instagram stories, which is shown primarily based on your relationships with those in your network. So the more that you interact with a person in your network, the more of that content will be shown. If you don't interact with them at all, the less of their content will be shown. Social platforms generally will use a combination of these across the same feed, across different features on the platform. And these are just the most popular ones, but there are more complex ones that I'm happy to go through in another session. So how to stand out in an algorithmic feed. These are I would say the 3 most important attributes that you need to consider in your content if you want to break through. Relatability. How does your content relate to a person's lived experience? So this isn't, I have a dog, I'm creating content to appeal to other people who have dogs. It's, okay, what is the lived experience of a person who has a dog for me to be able to touch into a specific part of their culture, their daily ritual, their perspective. It's really having a good understanding of what is the day-to-day that this person actually lives, and how do I bring benefit to that experience. Then you have information. What can a viewer learn from you that will benefit their experience? So this isn't necessarily just the explicit tools or the benefits of your product. This includes things like the values that you hold, shared interest. What does a person learn about you as a company owner? What does a person learn about the things that you value in yourself? And that information helps to build that relatability. It helps to build that relatability factor. And then the final point is emotion. And this is one that is quite often the hardest one for even content creators to grasp is, are you able to shift the emotional state of the viewer? This isn't necessarily going from happy to sad. It can be from neutral to curious. Have you made the viewer feel something by the time that they finish watching your content? And then how do trends play into this? So trends are an easy way to be able to understand and touch upon these three factors, but it's important to understand how trends are created. And trends generally fit into three types. You've got the macro trends, which are sustained cultural movements or established cultural phenomena. So things from Black Friday, from Christmas content. You've probably all listened to hearing Mariah Carey countless times, even before this call. Those are macro trends. So what are things that are shift societal values? What are things that everyone can relate across a large population? So these cross borders and cross boundaries. Then at the other end of the scale, you've got micro trends. So these are ones that you see quite a lot more commonly on platforms like TikTok, Reels, YouTube. So what are the mimicable actions that drive participation across a set group? So the way that trends tend to start is that a creator will create an action that others deem relatable and easy enough to copy. And then they will repeat the action and add their own twist onto it. And then other people see that action and say, okay, well, X number of people have created adding their own twist. How can I be authentic and adapt it in a way that I could jump on the trend? So brands are doing this more and more, where they're able to find their way to be adaptable to how that trend works for their brand without losing their voice. And most importantly, micro trends needs to have a distinct visual appeal. So whether that's an action, whether that's a particular aesthetic, it needs to appeal visually. And then there's a bit in the middle called meso trends, which is been newly identified by researchers, which is cultural phenomena that bridges communities, bringing together viral elements and deeper cultural relevance. So they're not as long as macro trends, but they're not as short-lived as micro trends. They're kind of things that stay in the middle. For example, demure. Demure is no longer a micro trend. It's started to enter the cultural lexicon, where it's becoming an everyday part of our everyday speech. Things like specific aesthetics could become meso trends as well. So with our understanding of what makes the key elements that stand out within content, how do we set ourselves apart, set ourselves up for success? And it's from primarily shifting our thinking from demographics to psychographics. So demographics, we've all done them before. It's segmenting between age, region, education, etc. But now it's becoming more important to understand the psychographic profile of your audience, of your community, of your customers. So what are the shared values? What are the shared interests? What is their lived experience? What is their lived experience? What are different challenges that this person faces day to day? What are some of the community rituals that they undertake? Community rituals doesn't necessarily mean going to church. It could be community ritual could be that everyone is interested in a specific type of cartoon, for example. Do you have an understanding of the key attributes of the interests and values that psychographic community hold? Research today finds that people are willing to spend more money with brands that understand the psychographic profile of their audience versus those that focus solely on demographic. Users and customers are willing to spend more money if your brand understands their values versus just their shared characteristics. the majority of digital transformations fail because of a misalignment of psychographic profiles, people not understanding the shared experiences, the shared interests of the very employees that they're trying to onboard onto the new digital paradigm. And how can we learn about these communities? So I'm about to share with you 6 tools that I regularly use to try and deep dive into different communities. The first one is Reddit. Reddit has over 100,000 communities, active communities, and have recently overtaken X and Twitter as, I believe, the 3rd most used social media platform. And it's quite easy to use this as well. All you need to do is you can enter the keyword into their search, and it'll show you multiple communities that speak on that topic. And then all you need to do is take some time to understand, well, what are the different challenges and obstacles that those communities face. Then you have Gemini. So Gemini is Google's AI tool, and the advantage that Gemini has over a ChatGPT, for example, is that your query could bring up YouTube videos that answer the query that you need. So if you're looking for a specific community, you can bring up specific types of videos that community may enjoy, or help you dive deeper into understanding their key characteristics. Claude is one that I like to use because it's more research based and provides more context than ChatGPT, but in truth, the differences between the two are negligible if you're using it every day. Then you have YouTube, the 2nd largest search engine. I would appeal to you to use YouTube and to filter their searches based on time base as well. So not only will it show you the most popular, but you can also rank it by what has been created in the last 24 hours, what's been created in the last week, what's been created in the last year. They can really give you a sense of, over time, what is the type of content that community has created. And then you've got TikTok as well. So TikTok, very similarly to YouTube, allows you really to search and dive deep into the type of content that creators care about and interact with on a daily basis. And then ChatGPT, it goes without saying, it's probably not your first session where you've been introduced to the platform. And then here's one of my favorite ones. It's called Perplexity. By the way, all of these platforms are free, have a free version to use. So feel free to sign up and give them a go yourself. The difference that Perplexity has versus others is that it's a search engine aggregator. So essentially, you can use it the same way as Claude, ChatGPT, and Gemini, in that you enter your query, but that it'll bring up the sources and the search results that are related to your query as well. So it'll give you the answers, but then for each section of the answer, it will give you the sources that it used to come to that conclusion. So you can check the sources directly. And also, if you don't like a particular source, you could remove it and ask it to amend its search based on that. And this is a tool that I use quite often with our clients to help understand how to reach audiences at different levels. So when you create a social media account, you need to have a clear understanding as to what your new audiences are, your casual audiences, and your core. Your core audiences at this stage will likely be your current customer base. But new audiences are people who have limited to zero knowledge of your topic, but there may be overlaps with other verticals that they have. For example, if you are a cycling brand that works in pro racing, an adjacent community may be other endurance sports. So if you want to reach a broader audience, you need to be able to tap into broader terms to be able to reach that audience. For example, I saw there's a couple people who work in culinary arts, for example. So if you work in the food if you work in the food business, a way to reach new audiences is to what are broader topics that can get people interested in your topic. So what are key tentpole moments throughout the year? For example, Christmas is coming up and a lot of people will be searching for Christmas content. So how can you relate your brand to Christmas to be able to be what's the word, suggested to them because a person has searched for a related topic. Platforms like YouTube and Instagram offer content on a suggested basis as well. So if a person has searched for content that's adjacent to your vertical, they might serve your content. So rather than sticking within your vertical, have a think about how your vertical can overlap with other industries and other topics of interest. Then you have casual consumers. So your casual audience are those that are in your community, have a good working knowledge of it, but they haven't quite transitioned over to being your core customer base. So the way that you want to reach this casual audience is that how can you provide a greater depth and insights that can help their everyday lives or business or experiences. I'm trying to think of some of the businesses that I saw earlier. For example, woodworking and wood and general DIY. How can you create content that helps people, whether it's in their future homes, whether they're building their own projects, whether they're building for their kids? How do you create content that taps into those that have a working knowledge of the industry, but provide insights so that you set yourself up as a thought leader within that space? And then the more content that you create to those casual audiences, they turn into your active members and they end up buying from you because you've been able to be consistent, you've been able to create content that have hit them on different scales all the way to the point where they're able to buy from you. So I've got questions to consider for when you're going into a large language model or ChatGPT to help start to break out what some of these communities look like. Describe the key characteristics and values and pain points of a specific community. What are emerging trends and changes that are happening within the specific community? Map out the ecosystem of that community, including primary gathering spaces, rituals, and traditions. What challenges or barriers might your brand face when trying to connect with a specific community? And what are unspoken rules and etiquettes that you should be aware of when interacting with that community? So when you've built an understanding of your community, you can go and enter the creation process and start to create content that stands out. Just being wary of time. I want to make sure I leave some time for questions as well. So here I'm going to dig into the creative process. What do these three things have in common? You've got your newspapers on the top left, you've got your out-of-home activations on the top right, and then you've got a YouTube feed at the bottom. I wonder if I can have a look at some of the answers. The things that stand out across these three is that they have great hooks. When you're creating content on social media, it's imperative for you to have a hook that grabs the attention and sets the expectation for what they're about to read or watch. The hook stops the scroll, but it's also important that you have a payoff that leads to action. So you need to over-deliver on the hook and create a shift in emotion, which leads them to action. So the hook stops the scroll, but the payoff is what gets that person to follow you or share or comment. And then in the middle, you need to be able to build context and to develop the story as well. So that will look different across different platforms and different mediums. But largely speaking, this four structure of hook, context build, and payoff is a structure that will allow you to build content that cuts through. And just the visual representation of that is the headline, the titles, the thumbnails, the out-of-home activation. Those are the things that really stand out and catches your eye, that then allows you to deliver the rest of the message. And I've put here six applications that can help you in the creative process. So if you're not comfortable speaking on camera, if you're not comfortable with your editing skills, these are platforms that can help you create your own content. So starting with 11 Labs. So 11 Labs is an audio dubbing platform. So you write text in, and then it narrates the text for you. And again, all of these platforms are free to use. This is a way that if you're not comfortable with speaking out or having your voice as part of the content, you can write your script, and then the platform will use an AI voice to narrate it for you. The paid versions actually allow you to train the models on your own voice, so that over time, it's your own voice that is narrating the script, but you're not saying a single word. Pexels is a platform that allows you to have free stock images and free videos as well. So for brands, it's quite difficult to use royalty-free assets. So platforms like Pexels allow you to use royalty-free assets for you to build your content from. And then Canva is a really popular one, allows you to build not only videos, but also static assets provide you with templates to be able to create carousels or text or posters to use across a social channel. You can use ChatGPT to not only create scripts, but what you can do, a little tip, is that if you go onto YouTube or TikTok, if you copy the link of a video and you go onto Google and you search audio transcript, you can transcribe the video into text and then put it into ChatGPT for it to learn the different patterns of the most popular videos, so that over time you can have you can build your own style based on the most popular videos that are created. Riverside is a platform that allows you to record your calls. So the same way that we're having this webinar, it will record it for you, but it also edit it down for you as well. So you can take meetings or interviews that you have with other creators or other partners or other businesses, and it'll cut it down to the most important parts. It'll provide you clips to help populate your social channels as well. And then you have CapCut. So CapCut is from the same company that created TikTok. It allows you to create short video assets and provide you templates to create videos to put on TikTok, to put on Reels, to put on YouTube Shorts. So these 6 platforms here will knock days, weeks off your creative process, and over time, it becomes second nature for you to create content. But you need to also understand how to make your content work for you. So here's a way to save on your time when creating. Is that you can take one single idea, and from that single idea, you can create 4 different video ideas. So here's one that you can try. If you write a LinkedIn post, or you have a thread on X, on Blue Sky or Threads, you can take the text from that thread and you can put it across a carousel, and you can post that across your Instagram, your Facebook, or any other visual platforms. And then through videos, you can use the green screen effect to have that same image of that thread in the background with yourself in the forefront, and be able to speak through it in more context. And then if you want to make it interactive, you can share it over to your stories and add polls and effects for other people to engage with. Sorry, my alarm's going off. So I just want to end on this last bit. I appreciate that I've given only 5 minutes for questions, but I'm happy to stay for longer, another 10-15 minutes if that's okay with Naomi and the rest of the team to get through some of the most pressing questions. So a bit of homework to take away with you and have some additional thinking. In the next steps, I would like you to identify the communities that you want to serve and learn about their lived experience. So irrespective of the industry that you work in, make a note of the communities that are relevant to you and have an understanding of the key rituals, the key values that they hold. Then I want you to have a think about how your brand can integrate itself into those rituals. What are the types of what are the advantages of your brand that you want communities to be able to see and enter into their blended experience. Then I want you to segment those psychographic profiles into new, casual, and core. And then across the creative process, I want you to list the unique perspective that you will share that will be able to relate, inform, and connect. And I want to thank you for your time. I appreciate that we're running right to the end. This is the first of many sessions. Of hopefully many sessions, and I would love for you to give your feedback to Naomi and the rest of the team so that we can have more. We could have sessions that focus on key parts and key issues. So please send your questions through to the team even after this call, so that we can really tailor future sessions to key issues that your companies and that your brands have in particular. But feel free to send me an email, to add me on LinkedIn, and if you scan the QR code, you'll get through to a Google Sheets where you can actually book in one-to-one time or follow in the newsletter. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I really appreciate all the messages coming through. I appreciate that before you can't really see all the comments. But I hope that this is the first of many sessions throughout 2025 where I can really be a part of this Rebel community and really support you on this process, whether you're right new to the game or whether you've been in it for 20, 30 years.
I think Naomi wanted to close this off. Are you there, Naomi? Hopefully she's here. We noted down a few questions. Naomi, did I mute? Hold on, let me look for her. Okay, Naomi?
Yes.
Hey. Are you there?
Okay, are we there? Do you hear me?
Yeah.
We're good?
Yeah.
Everyone, first of all, massive round of applause for Serge for such a fantastic session. It's not easy. You've captivated us, and the majority of us have stayed on. So well done to you, my friend. You did a fantastic job. Absolutely well done. I've got a lot of questions that have been written down, so please just bear with me. And if I haven't taken your name down properly, I apologize, okay? So some of the questions I've got is, how can you help improve visibility on social media?
Visibility in terms of, is there any aspect in particular? Just general visibility.
Imagine, Serge. Imagine, okay, I'm trying to get more business awareness, on social media. You mentioned reels and content. What can I do to leverage that visibility? You mentioned about sort of jumping on other types of reels and stuff, but how do I actually increase that visibility? Is there any tips you can share with us?
So I'll go through it from two perspectives. I'll focus primarily on the content itself, and then I'll talk more broadly about your strategy tackling a particular platform. So the most common issue that I seem to come across in terms of visibility is an understanding of how to put together the narrative of your posts, of actually what exactly is it that you're wanting to communicate, and understanding of, on the other side, how is that being received. Because quite often you can get quite insular because you're in your business and you're very used to communicating it to others, but actually you don't take the step back to understand how is that message being received in the context of the other person receiving it. So if I'm at home, or if I'm on the journey, I'm on a tube home, and I'm scrolling through hundreds of pieces of content, the pieces that stick out are those that automatically catch my attention. But the hook is not necessarily just a visual thing that you do. It's what you say in those opening seconds that capture your mind. So in those opening seconds, you need to be able to set the premise for what the rest of the video is. So if I'm a dog walker and I have a dog walking business, I would say, here are 5 things to ensure that your dog is safe during a walk. Like, is there something that can really tug the heartstrings of a person that is paying attention to, that is in that same space that you want to capture? And then you want to be able to really go through and be able to deliver on your insight. So that's one quick, easy way that you can start to increase your visibility. The other side is overall from a branding perspective, how you set up your page. When you set up your page, you need to have, it's not just about I am X business, it's about what is it that you're bringing to, what are you going to make easier for the person that's going to be on your platform. So yes, you are X business, but what is it that your content on your page is looking to deliver? So yes, I am a woodworker, but what am I going to, in this page, what are you seeking to teach me beyond your business? Because these are entertainment platforms. It's about, what are you going, yes, you want me to buy for you, but before I buy for you, you need to show that you have a level of expertise that
Sure.
it will allow me to trust you. You need to be
Sure.
able to build on that trust. So those are the two key points: is how you set up your page, and then the content itself. And I'm sure that in future sessions we can dig into more practical examples if people send through like specific examples that they have, and we can create case studies around those.
I think the people will have that. Thank you, Serge. On a slight practical tip, because I'm thinking about, we've got lots of different types of industries on the call, and we've got lots of different people who have been doing this, running their businesses. They're super new, or they've been doing it for 20 years. But we're all in the same boat when it comes to social media, because we're all still learning, right? So in terms of trying to build that visibility, obviously, and forgive me, one post isn't going, I mean, it might blow up, okay, but one post isn't going to build that. It's a long game, isn't it? So let's just think about it, right? The end of the year is up and January 2025 is coming up, right? So let's just say, can you give us like a practical example? So from January to March, 3 months, okay, what types of things or what types of content, and you can just bullet point these for us, okay? What types of content do you think that between January and March, what types of content can we be creating that's going to build on that visibility and that expertness in our different fields? Now, valid, we've all got different industries that we're in, but can you give us like 5 topics that we can create content around that's going to help us?
The biggest topic that I don't think is leveraged nearly enough is yourself. Content actually around yourself, your experiences, why this matters to you, and being able to be upfront with your community. People relate much more easily to faces than they do to others. So I would say, rather than giving you 5 bullet points, I would say spend the first month to the first 3 months actually being able to share your stories, your anecdotes, your experiences as to what this means to you, your passions, your experiences, etc. And that will help you also build the confidence of being able to be on camera more often, being able to understand the things that you're comfortable talking about and not talk about. And then from there, you'll be able to explore other.
Awesome. I mean, that's really good for most of us, right? A lot of us don't like talking about ourselves, but that's actually a really good way to start. So thank you. I've got a question on here. I can't remember who it's from, but someone's asked, with 11 Labs, in the paid version, does it allow you to tweak your own voice? Is that possible?
Yes. So
yeah. Oh, wow.
You're trained. Yes. So the way that it works is that it'll have multiple versions of your voice in there, but then you could change the way that you say certain phrases. So the expressiveness can be tweaked and the cadence of it can be tweaked as well.
Wow, that's also very scary. Oh my God.
By the way, every piece of content now will be marked as AI. So the more you're open to your use of it, then it'll be easier to you don't get in trouble with any of the regulatory services.
Sure. I'm just going to take 5 more minutes. I'm just skip. Apologies for those of you that can't get to all your questions. Okay, please do email us at the Rebel School, and we'll try and get our best to get Serge to answer them for you. I've got someone here, Sahar, who's saying, "Is it worth paying for meta verification?" What do you think, Serge?
Personally, no. I would say your meta verifications is to allow you. It's more of a customer support tool at this point. So if you go further down, there have been instances where people have trouble getting into their account or having access to certain features. It's good for you to have it in those types of scenarios. If you're starting up, especially for new channels between 0 and 10K, you won't need it at that point. If you can afford it, then it gives you that peace of mind that you'll be looked after further down the line.
Okay, interesting. Thank you, Serge. And I've just seen somewhere else. So I think a lot of us have this issue whereby on one platform, we're doing really well. On one social media, we're doing really well, but it doesn't translate to the other one. Have you got any advice on that?
I'm going to assume that this is for people who are on TikTok trying to migrate to. I see it most commonly on TikTok moving to other platforms, but the most important thing when you're going onto a new platform is understanding the types of community and the mindset of that platform. It doesn't necessarily mean that one of the tricky things in trying to crack a new platform is that you jump in too quick and you've not had time to actually assess how you should be actually approaching this platform. The way that people approach the types of people that go on YouTube have a different mindset than the person who goes on TikTok, that goes on Instagram, that goes on LinkedIn. So you have to think that, okay, you're not going to have the same mindset when you're on LinkedIn that you are when you're going to have on TikTok. So you need to be able to understand those nuances and be able to adjust your content like so. It's without going into a huge amount of detail to every single platform. Every platform has a different way of packaging the content. So if you're on YouTube Shorts, the way that the algorithm serves it to you there is very different than on TikTok, because it's mostly through most of the audience come through the suggested videos in the homepage, as opposed to algorithmic feeds on TikTok. The same way on Reels, the way that content is shared on Reels is different on TikTok, where people share more within friends, etc. So you need to have an understanding of what are those individual differences within each platform, the sharing behaviors, the viewing behaviors, and adjust your content to that. But I'm happy to have a set session on those as well, because it can be, they're very slight, but they can be very tricky.
I think the general premise from the comments that we've had is we definitely need more of Serge. Okay, this content is very heavy. There's lots of parts to it, and we definitely, thank you, Maria. We definitely need more of your brilliant mind to educate us. Please do put in the comments and say yes, so we can get the Rebel team to do this. We also need some help on how to create reels. I've seen that when we first started, how to create the reels, how to use the social media in a way that works for us, you know, ideas on how to create the certain reels and content. Thank you everyone for the support. You and Emmy will take that back to HQ. I'm gonna round up, guys, because of time, and we've all got things we want to spend our evening with our families. So everyone, again, a massive round of applause for Serge and your time and your energy and your wisdom for us today. We really appreciate it. Serge, last words. Please put your social media handle in the chat so everyone can connect with you, and whatever else you want to share on LinkedIn and stuff. Please do follow him, share, comment, message, reach out to him. But everyone, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to wrap up now. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful Christmas. If we don't hear from you or see from you, all right? Have a good time. All right, Serge is going to put his details in the chat, and obviously message us if you've got any other questions that didn't get answered, because we want to respond to you. All right? Have a good one. Enjoy your evening, and we'll see you all very soon. Thank you, Serge.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you, everyone. Now let me add my details in there. But my LinkedIn is under my full name, so feel free to follow me on LinkedIn.